Good afternoon. It's time for business, and the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, GNPC, has called on government to begin work on developing a regulation for onshore exploration activities in the country. Director of Sustainability and External Affairs at the GNPC, Kwame Banuako, spoke on behalf of the Chief Executive of the GNPC at the ongoing Ghana International and Industrial Summit and exhibition by the Association of Ghana Industries. He disclosed that survey work for oil in the Voltairean Basin is about 70% completed, hence the call.
We're also looking to utilize the opportunities offered by the onshore activities that we are currently engaging. As some of you might know, I mentioned it last year at this platform, the onshore Voltairean Basin survey is currently underway. We are very much into about 70% of the work is done. Some analysis have been done. It's not my duty to suggest that it holds a lot of potential, but it actually does hold a lot of potential. The signs are very good, and I'm sure, Your Excellency, maybe this is the time for us to start thinking about legislation relating to onshore production activities, because almost everything we have now relates to offshore activities, but the onshore activities has its own potentials and its own challenges. The potential being that the lower capital requirements affords a lot more Ghanaians the opportunity to be part of this industry. But then it also has its environmental challenges, and so I think this is the time when we have not said we've discovered anything. It's at this stage that we should be thinking about the legislation, so that when His Excellency and the President announce finally that it looks like we have oil onshore, we already have the legislation that protects the activities and ensures that Ghanaians do get a larger benefit as against what is happening offshore because of the huge capital requirements. So I just wanted to bring this up for probably further discussion during the open sessions.
To some maritime business now, and the Ghana Maritime Authority says it will establish an integrated security plan to help improve upon its contributions to the economy. According to the authority, the plan, which is known as the National Integrated Maritime Strategy, seeks to provide a clearer approach to maritime issues with increased coordination between different policy areas.
We have a document for the SGI called the Joint Country Action Plan, which is a document brought together by the two sides, the United States and Ghana, that indicated some objectives for the various focal areas. And for the focal area of maritime security, the JCAP identified the end state for the maritime focal area as the preparation and implementation of an integrated maritime strategy for Ghana. To get to this point, there are a lot of other, targets that we will need to meet along the line, like what I talked about, the whole of government collaboration framework and implementation plans and a whole lot of other things. So the strategy is meant to, as I've already said, bring the country at a place where we will be able to harness all the benefits. We are looking forward to completing everything by June next year, with the details along the line as indicated in my presentation. We expect to have the drafts by the end of December. When we get a plan, I think the next thing to do is to align the plan with national budget.
Also, if you live in a rented apartment, you should be interested in this. The Ministry of Works and Housing says it's working on collaboration with the Finance Ministry to provide some guarantees to real estate developers to curb advance rent payments. This follows reports over high rents and advance payments being demanded by landlords, which has discouraged many from seeking shelter in decent homes. It is against this backdrop that the sector minister Samuel Atachia told Joy Business there's the need to there is the need for government to facilitate the building of more houses to reduce the monopoly being enjoyed by landlords.
If you look at the demand side, it far outstrips the supply side of housing. That is why we need a major drive in rolling out housing. And we cannot do that unless we give security of return to the developers. Now, there are an army of developers who are interested in rolling out the houses. So this is what we're working on very hard for the Minister for Finance to give security or guarantee, as they call it, of some international consequences to developers. They'll come and change the face of housing in Ghana. If you have more houses than people need, how can you talk about 3 years rent advance? That's another factor. And also the legislation is not too good, as they are complaining, that I've sunk money in my private house. And you say that the person should pay only 6 months. I need some return on my capital. So why don't you do maybe 1 year? And then both the developer and the one who wants to rent will have some, joy about the matter. So these are the matters that we are trying to push, but it will rest with Parliament to decide whether we should keep the 6 months, which is on the books now, the law books, or we should go to 1 year, which will favor also the developers. They will be addressed because these are what we call the most important problems challenging our people. Yes, if, excuse me to say, your salary is low and you are being forced to pay rent advance, you want the head of the person to split into two. So we need to create an environment that we solve these problems, and we are aggressively tackling it.
And if you have such a problem and need a solution, then the Joy Western World Habitat Fair is the place to be. Well, from this Friday, where you will be presented with options to find a place you may call home. The fair takes place this week. That's from the 21st to Sunday, the 23rd of September at the Provident Event Center, close to Trade Fair. Adla. My name is Odile Ntiama. That's how we close the curtains this 12:30. Let's make a date with Emmanuel Abuajiriafe at exactly 1 p.m. in the marketplace.